Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I welcome you to the series History, Science and Faith in Islam. It is a narrative designed to foster a renewal of faith based on a knowledge of our history, science and culture. This is the first of two sessions on Islam in Persia, today known as Iran. Pivotal as Persia was in the political developments of Muslim Asia, its primary contribution was to preserve, reinvigorate, and transmit the spiritual legacy of Islam through its language, art, and architecture. While the Arabs provided the ideational foundation of the edifice of Islam, it was the Persians who adorned it with beauty and embellished it with spirituality. The primary medium for this achievement was the Farsi, or the Persian language, the lingua franca of the East, and the court language of the dynasties of Persia, Turkey, Central Asia, Afghanistan, and the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent. Persia was the fountain of the tasawwuf that extended the boundaries of Islam after the Mongol-Tartar deluge. Indeed, Persia was the land where the soul of Islam was rediscovered. The geography of the Persian landmass makes it a central piece in the chessboard of Asian landmass. Sitting astride the Persian plateau, south of the Caspian Sea, it dominates and controls the overland access from the Mediterranean to India and China. In the medieval world, the trade routes from Alexandria in Egypt and Aleppo in Syria ran through Persia. The northerly routes connected Tabriz in West Persia to the Central Asian cities of Samarkand and Bukhara, and from there through the ancient Silk Road through Xinjiang to China. The southern trade routes ran through Isfahan to Kabul in Afghanistan, and from there through the passes of the Hindu Kush to the vast Indo-Gangetic plains of India. Large caravans plied these caravan routes, carrying with them not only the goods produced by the principal trading centers of the ancient world, but also scholars and adventurers. Persia became a crucible of ideas, melting its own ideas with the ancient wisdom of China, India, and the Mediterranean. Control of the Persian highlands gave a potential conqueror the ability to strike east or west, as was so decisively demonstrated by Hulagu Khan of the Mongols and Timur of the Tatars. The Battle of Al-Qadisiyah, 636 to 637 CE, opened the Persian heartland to Islamic penetration. Victory at the Battle of Nahawand in 642 cemented the conquest. By the year 751, when Muslim armies overcame Chinese resistance at the Battle of Talash, the Islamic domain extended beyond the Indus River to the east and the Oxus River to the north. The Zoroastrian world, once so powerful that it projected its power from Athens to Kabul, was now a part of the larger Islamic world. Some of the earliest companions of the Prophet were Persians, and their names are honored by Muslims the world over. Salman Farsi was one such distinguished companion. During the first 40 years of Umayyad rule, the diffusion of Islam into the Persian heartland was slow. The Arabs made no attempt to force their religions on the Persians and left them alone as long as they paid the protective tax and obeyed the laws of the state. Taxation, not conversion, appeared to be the primary concern of the Khalifas in Damascus. The conquering Arabs zealously guarded their tribal social boundaries. The few Persians who accepted Islam were treated as mawalis, meaning protected people, a term that accorded the newcomers less than the social status in the community given to the Arabs. The situation changed with the ascent of Khalifa Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Among the Umayyads, he was alone who made an attempt to reach out to the conquered people. Discriminatory taxes were abolished, and the newcomers were accorded the same dignity as that given to the established Arab nobility. Conversion accelerated, and when the Abbasid revolution erupted in 750 CE, the Persian element tilted the balance of power in favor of the Abbasids. Foremost amongst the leaders of the revolution was Abu Muslim, a Persian general of singular capability and determination. The Persians were carriers of an ancient civilization that had extensive interactions with the civilizations of China and India. They brought with them advanced technologies, productive agriculture, a universal philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, and a tradition of efficient state administration. Their presence was felt in the Islamic community as early as the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It was Salman Farsi who suggested to the Prophet that a defensive trench be constructed around Medina to thwart the invading Meccan armies in one of the battles. The trench made a crucial difference in the outcome of the armed encounter, which was termed the Battle of the Trench. The Persian mastery of carpet weaving was noticed as early as the reign of Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. After the Battle of Madain, an exquisite carpet called Farish-e-Bahar was brought to Medina from the Persian capital. In the following centuries, the Khalifas of Baghdad, as well as the Persian dynasties in the outlying provinces, encouraged the art of carpet weaving. The Khalifas adopted Persian methods of administration. Persian and Byzantine techniques of construction were used in the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, as well as the extensive system of aqueducts built by the Umayyads. The Zoroastrians of Persia also had a unitary concept of heaven, and the Arabs accorded them the status of people of the book, a status equivalent to that of the Christians and the Jews. The Persians immediately made their presence felt in the intellectual domain. The Arabs had established themselves in military cantonments, which in time grew to be centers of intellectual activity. Most of the Persians who had accepted Islam migrated to these centers so as to establish a cultural and religious linkage with the resident Arabs. As the city cantonments grew in size, so did the need to define the social and judicial framework of the evolving community and its interfaces with other communities. This need gave birth to the sciences of fiqh. The city of Kufa, a border town between the Arabic-speaking and Persian-speaking worlds, became a center of learning and a place of congregation for scholars. One such scholar was Imam Abu Hanifa, after whom the Hanafi school of fiqh is named. Imam Abu Hanifa was of Afghan Persian parentage and was familiar with the concerns of the non-Arab segments of the community. The school of fiqh evolved by him and his disciples reflected these concerns. It was in the reign of the Abbasid Khalifa Mamun, who passed away in 833, that the Persians became a decisive political force in the Abbasid Empire. Mamun's victory over his brother Amin between 810 and 813 CE for succession to the Khilafat was in no small measure due to the intervention of the Persians. Mamun's armies had a large number of Persian soldiers led by Tahir, a dynamic Persian officer. The victorious Khalifa rewarded Tahir for his fidelity by appointing him the governor of southern Iraq. The Tahirids soon became autonomous and, while maintaining their allegiance to Baghdad, established the Tahirid dynastic rule. They introduced Persian court etiquette and were the first to encourage the use of Farsi language in the official circles. By the beginning of the 10th century, Persians outnumbered Arabs in the lands east of the Tigris River. The preponderance of Persians had a profound impact on the political, linguistic, and intellectual landscape of the Islamic community. The Tahirids established a Persian dynasty with their capital at Nishapur. Mathematicians like Al-Khwarizmi, who died in the year 862, and historians like Al-Tabari found patronage in the Persian courts. The sciences of fiqh and hadith flourished in Persia, as did the Arab heartland. One of the greatest of the muhaddithin, Imam al-Bukhari, who passed away in the year 869, lived during this period in Khorasan. Imam al-Bukhari traveled through much of the Islamic world, collected and examined over 300,000 ahadith, and after a rigorous scrutiny, selected approximately 7,000 as valid. His collection of ahadith is one of the most authoritative ones in the Islamic sciences and is accorded the same honor as the collections of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, Imam Muslim, Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Abu Dawud, Imam Malik ibn Anas, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Persian political influence reached its zenith under the Buyuds, who rose to power in southern Iraq circa 932 CE. Increasing conversion had shifted the center of gravity of the empire away from Baghdad into the outlying provinces, both in the eastern Persian region and in the Maghrib. Court intrigues had sapped the strength of the Khilafat. There was increasing military pressure from the Fatimids in Egypt. The Abbasid Khalifa Mustaqfi, desperate to seek help, invited the Buyud Prince Ahmed to defend Baghdad against the Fatimids. The Buyuds, who practiced the Ithna Ashari fiqh, were only too happy to assume the role of protectors of the Sunni Khilafat in Baghdad. In return, Ahmad received the title of Mu'iz ad-Dawla and was given the reins of the empire. For several years thereafter, the Persian Buyuds were the effective rulers of Baghdad until the Seljuks rescued the Abbasids. It was under the Samanids of Khorasan, starting with the year 901, that the Persian language, art, and architecture blossomed into their fullest expression. The cities of Samarkand, Bukhara, Nishapur, Mashhad, and Herat grew into world-class centers of learning. Samanid patronage produced a galaxy of notable men of science and letters like Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, and others. The patronage of the arts continued with the Ghaznavis, who displaced the Samanids between 962 and 1026. Mahmud of Ghazna made his capital city a beacon of art and culture. Al-Biruni, who passed away in the year 1048, one of the foremost historians and chroniclers of the age, lived at the court of Mahmud. Firdausi, one of the most celebrated Farsi poets and author of the Shahnama, lived in Ghazna. Firdausi composed the Shahnama, a classic poem that extols the achievements of pre-Islamic heroes of Persia as a tribute to Mahmud. The great poet was disappointed with the reward he received for the masterpiece, whereupon he composed a poem belittling the emperor and sent it to Mahmud. The emperor, who was on his campaigns in India, regretted the treatment he had given the poet and sent a more handsome reward. Firdausi did not live to receive the gifts. As the camels laden with the gifts entered through one gate of the city of Ghazna, the body of Firdausi was carried out for burial through another gate. However, it was the Mongol deluge that transformed the landscape of Islamic history and brought the Persian element into the forefront of Islamic intellectual activity. When Genghis Khan descended from the highlands of Central Asia into the Farghana Valley in the year 1219, Islamic civilization was primarily city-based. As conversion had proceeded in Persia and Central Asia, so had the migration of people to the cities. This movement had resulted primarily from economic considerations. Official patronage was focused on a few principal towns that became magnets for scholars and peasants alike. The management of social interactions in an urban milieu demanded a heavy emphasis in the schools of fiqh. Arabic, the language of the Quran, and of the various schools of fiqh, was the language of the learned circles. This concludes the first part of our presentation on Islam in Persia. In the next session, inshallah, we will continue with this coverage. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.